Recently, I built a 1440p gaming monster, and as beautiful as it was, I wasn't exactly a fan of how large the case was. So I decided to try to downsize into a MicroATX case I found on Amazon called the Yeyian Hussar, which resembles the Jonsbo D30 and the Gamemax Spark. Once unboxed, I immediately fell in love with the black aluminum minimalistic design. The black aluminum case features a tempered glass side that showcases the components up front and a black glass panel on the back for cable management. The Yeyian Hussar was noticeably smaller than my previous case, shaving roughly 2 to 3 inches off the top and an inch or two off the deck. And while the old case featured a panoramic view design, there was a stark contrast between the clean, simple aesthetic of my new one. The plan was to reuse as many parts as possible for this build, essentially doing a full case swap, but a few things had to be changed. My old water cooler is too large for the new case, so I decided to try out a Thermalright Frozen Notte 240 cooler I found on Amazon for $50, along with some matching case fans. I also plan to upgrade from my AMD 7800 XT to an Nvidia 4070 Ti. So that being said, let's get into it. Disassembly of the case was easy, with the top and side glass panels each being held together by 2 screws each. Afterwards, the glass panels slide right off. The case comes configured for an mATX board, but can be reconfigured for an mATX board using the included standoffs and mounting hardware. My mATX board was easily transferred right over to a new case and was essentially a perfect fit. A hard drive tray sits on the right and is easily removable to allow greater access to the case. The back of the case includes a pre-installed fan that I would suggest replacing due to the weird connector it uses. I recently upgraded to a Ryzen 7 5800X 3D CPU, which is known to run hot, so I installed a 240mm water cooling kit, once again, for only $50. So stay tuned because I might do a review on that later. Once the pump is installed, I would suggest you immediately begin connecting all the fan cables and headers while you still have the space to do so. Regarding the case, the top plate matches up perfectly with a 240mm cooler, and once assembled, you can really see the care and planning that was used when designing this case. The power supply is designed to fit to the right of the cooler, and this case supports a full ATX PSU, which is held to the case by 4 screws on top. The case features a PSU connection that runs through the top of the case, then connects to the PSU, and then from there you can connect to the wall outlet. Inside the case also sits the connectors for the audio jack port, the power LED and switch connectors, and the USB-A and USB-C ports. The back of the case also has openings to run the cables for connection into the motherboard. Once the case was flipped over, there's a dust filter that's held together with grommets, which allow for the installation of the intake fans. The bottom of the case accommodates 3 120mm fans, and here we can see it all coming together. Next, I unboxed the Zotac 4070 Ti, which features a unique spaceship design and a reasonably sized package, but also included a 3-fan cooling system and side-mounted LEDs. The color scheme also syncs up nicely with the black case and my silver motherboard. It even included its own GPU mount, but also required a weird 3 8-pin to 1 16-pin adapter for those with older power supply units. Fortunately, my modular power supply came with a direct 16-pin lead. Installation of the GPU required removal of 2 external screws to access the PCIe slot and 1 more screw for alignment. Afterwards, the GPU fit right in and still had room to spare for those with even bigger graphics cards. Cable management is routed throughout the back of the case through metal channels and spacing underneath the power supply unit. Through the use of zip ties, I was able to clean up the wiring and ensure that no wires would slip into the intake fans. Overall, this case featured a great use of space, and cable management turned out to be easier than I expected. Once everything was set up, the only thing left to do was boot up the computer, and yeah, that looks beautiful. All the LEDs matched perfectly for a dope uniform look, and the GPU lighting can also be customized. I immediately jumped into a few games. After an hour or two of gaming, I found that both the CPU and GPU maxed out around 70 degrees while making minimal noise as far as the case is concerned. Overall, I'm very impressed with the Yeyian Hussar. It's an easy 10 out of 10. The case is clean, compact, and minimalistic, still allows for spacing for water cooling and large powerful graphics cards, but still manages to keep noise volume low while keeping temperatures in check, and it essentially turned my 1440p monster build into a sleeper build. The new small design really cleaned up my setup, and the next step will be to revamp the entire space for a more professional look. Also, I was highly impressed with this cheap water cooler, so maybe expect a video covering the Thermalright Frozen Notte 240 for those looking to maximize performance against their budget. All in all, how do you like the new setup? Could you see yourself downsizing to a smaller case? Let me know in the comments, and as usual, if you laughed or learned something, feel free to like and subscribe for more content.